So I've been putting off posting videos while I was working on this, but I've been working on a silver machine learning predictor, and I finally finished working on it and we have the results. So let's find out. Previously, I was working on a predictor that worked on gold, and then I did some tests with platinum, and finally I added silver to it. I'm not going to go through all the work, but basically I was using something called Google Colab to run my prototypes, and then finally on my own personal machine I would add the models that worked best for the machine learning process. And typically what worked best were these basically advanced decision tree models, which was CatB, extra trees, light, gradient boosting machine. These are different. You don't have to know the details, but they're advanced decision tree models typically used in business decision making modeling, and they tend to give actually quite good results, even better than neural networks for boring business type problems, such as making money, predicting like the movement of a price or a stock evolution and so on. Anyway, but it works, and we have the results, and I have the results here with I'll share this file with everybody so you can see what it projects for the price of silver. Now, I wanted to first work on gold because gold is a little bit more, less volatile than silver. And I think overall, I'm quite happy with the result from gold in that it's not perfect, but it does project, like, for example, the 3-day trend. That's what it kind of does. It takes today's variable, and then from it, it tries to determine what is sort of the fair valuation trending forwards 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, 112 days, right? And it seems to be relatively consistent. I don't have I will see in like 112 days whether it's good or not, but you can only test it over time. It doesn't work like you can't instantly test it out. But for the short time where I've been using it, it seems to be relatively accurate in telling me, like, right now we're heading upwards, we're kind of heading downwards. It's been doing that pretty well through my when compared to the real world predictions, and it's not doing too badly. But the reason why I put out silver is because silver is much more volatile. Like, silver tends to be extremely volatile because the market is so small. And so I ran it on silver based upon the results I had on gold, and I was actually surprised that the accuracy was decent. For the 3-day accuracy, I've got 97.8%, which is slightly better than gold. The accuracy for the 7-day is much less accurate because silver is more volatile, but 96% is not bad. Yeah, overall it's not too bad. However, it's actually predicting the right direction too. But one thing I did notice is the 112-day prediction, and I've noticed that for silver, the predictor does not predict an extreme bull market, right? It predicts actually an over a 10% jump for gold. And here's how you should read it. It doesn't mean that like in 112 days gold will be exactly at 10% more, right? If you look at here, it says that it's more rather, I think, the long-term fair valuation of gold based upon current situation, which is that the Federal Reserve is constantly printing money, and gold is a monetary metal. It is almost purely a monetary metal, and it's I would say that it's undervalued compared to the current environment and situation. Silver, when I did the projection, it didn't believe that silver was had the same sort of growth potential. I know I stacked silver. I know there's a lot of silver bulls and silver pumpers who are like, yeah, silver's going to be like, going to go to like $50, $55. I'm more cautious about silver. You know, it has potential, but I think it's mildly bullish. If I was to draw out like what the predictor says into a trading view chart, right? Basically, it says that the general trend, the 112-day trend. So this first line, we're going to draw it into, try and make it red. This first segment, the 112-day trend, is slightly bullish. So we're going into next year. Actually, yeah, next year sometime, March or so on. This would be the trend. It should be like somewhat slightly. Actually, it would be a little bit more like that there. And then this one, it's up here. So it's slightly bullish. It's not $30 bullish, but it's going to be above $26. And I think it's not too far off. You know, we did make a huge jump for silver. I think that previously, you know, silver was a forgotten asset. And for a long time, silver was relatively undervalued. For almost 2-3 years, silver was undervalued. If you started buying silver back then, yeah, you're on the right side of the trade. Today, is silver at the current price at around $25, $26? Is it undervalued or overvalued? I think relative, you know, to everything out there, it's somewhat undervalued, but not too much. It's not undervalued by very much. It's not overvalued. Overvalued is what, around maybe like $30. You know, that was a crazy number for silver. Could it go higher? You know, like, valuation is relative, right? How do you value silver? It doesn't have a balance sheet. It doesn't have a bank account. Actually, it's not even, you can't even use it to settle accounts between countries, which is something you can use gold for. So that's why gold is slightly easier to value as a currency relative to silver, because silver, it's a commodity mainly and has money properties. That's the thing about silver. And the same with platinum and palladium and so on. The machine learning process, it cannot forecast based upon new demand. This is something that it cannot take into account. Now, how much new demand is there? That's very hard to say. Maybe in like 30 years or like 15 years, we'll have sufficient EV demand for silver, right? But until then, you know, right now, there are certain places that's producing so much solar power they can't even store it. They need more batteries. You know, it's hard to say, and especially consider the current situation. There's a physical recession. I'm not talking about the stock market, but I'm talking about the physical market. There's a physical recession, and in physical recessions, consumption of commodity goods decrease. It also means that most commodity goods should be at a bottom. Now, they were at a bottom. Like, if you were looking at what silver and platinum, palladium, oil, and so on, they did bottom out. There was a point where oil went into negative territory. Okay, they did bottom out. Now, are they at a bottom or at the top? I think they are at a relative top. I think if you pull it out for 30 years, you'll be like, oh yeah, $50 oil, sure bought so many of that. But you can only see that when looking back. I think a lot of the commodity metals are set for a pullback. And the reason for that is because there is no real demand right now. All economies are more or less in either a downturn. I'm talking about China might expect to see some growth, but it's in a downturn. Europe's in a downturn. The US is in a downturn. Most economies around the world are in a downturn. You know, the Gulf economies, the Middle Eastern economies, downturn. Because of the dropping oil prices, they get pulled up when the demand, there's real physical demand elsewhere in the world. Right now, there is just no demand. So what's going to happen? Hard to say. That's why I'm buying gold, because it is the only risk-off asset that, you know, it doesn't depend on physical demand. It depends on how much money governments are going to print. And it just goes up relative to that. And yeah, so how much physical demand is there for silver? I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's very hard to measure because you would need to gather all producers' demand up, and then you see how many Mobile phones are going to sell this year. You're going to see how many electrical vehicles, solar cells. We don't know what that number will be for 2021. Yes, we are moving towards a green economy. The question is whether 2021, 2022 is the year that we shift everything into a green economy. And I think no, because honestly, like, that costs money. And right now, people don't have money to buy things. This is the reality, you know? So I think there was a lot of speculative forces pushing silver up. Here's how I think you should play it if you're stacking silver, right? I'm stacking silver here, so here's how I'm going to play it. I didn't buy at this point when silver dipped. I bought gold. Now, here's what my strategy is with silver. Anytime silver is under this trend line, right now it's not, it's at $25. Anytime silver is under the projected trend line, right, and the valuation is 20% below the projected trend line, I'm going to buy silver. Because long term, the projected trend is upwards. But if it's 20% under the projected trend line, irrespective of whatever else is priced, gold and so on, I'm going to be adding some more silver because I've been waiting trying to figure this out and to see how I could stack better. Basically, I have taxes on top of my silver, and before I was like, okay, silver is going to go to the moon. But I was thinking maybe that's not like realistic, you know? It's like that's not how it will work. And it's better if I have some sort of guiding light towards my decision making. The second thing I think about silver is that I do think that silver is prone to be, how would you say, pumped. And the reason why I think it's prone to be pumped is because the silver market is so small. If you look at the silver market, I'll post this one into the link in the chat, in the description. Silver is a tiny asset. Silver, there's only 40, if you take the whole market of silver, right, it's under 50 billion. Like the spot price has changed, so it's under $50 billion. It's actually about, so Bitcoin has increased and it's something we're at like 300 billion for cryptocurrencies right now. It's actually like 1/6 the size of the crypto market. And if you know anything about the crypto market, is that crypto market is susceptible to pump and dumps. You know, people pump up the price. That's some manipulation. It's not like hitting the price downwards, it's pumping the price upwards and then dumping it. That's what the manipulation happens when you have such a small market, because people are greedy, so it's easier to pump and dump. Bitcoin, all these currencies, especially the alternative cryptocurrencies, the altcoins, they're extremely prone to pump and dump. Some altcoins have the same size as the silver market. Think about that. The silver market is tiny. It's so small. It's like it's tiny. It's less than military spending. It's less than the U.S. budget deficit. It's less than the Fed's balance sheet. Now, here's the funny thing. Look at this Fed balance sheet, right? Look at the red part. 40% of it is added in 2020 alone, right? We've doubled the Fed balance sheet. Here, if you paid attention to the news until like I would say yesterday, last week Thursday, Jerome Powell came out and he said, we will be continuing the buyback, the quantitative easing program, buying bonds and mortgage-backed securities at the rate of 120 billion a month, which if you do the math, how long they plan on doing this, we are going to see an extra 5 to 7 trillion, which means that this whole number will double by 2025, right? That's kind of a projected, it will be somewhere around double. Now, what do you think will be the consequence of such a massive amount of monetary injection? Well, gold, you know, today is at 10 trillion. If you think that like, okay, you know, if we double now dollars, what will be the effect on assets? Well, they'll double in their dollar amount, you know, or roughly it'll be more or less double. But yeah, I think gold does stand a chance at having its money increase, like its monetary number increase. Of course, what you can buy with gold in that case will stay roughly the same. What you can buy with a dollar will not be the same. Do I think that it's a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a crazy thing. I think it's a lot of money pumped into the economy. It will depend on how it's spent. I think overall, if the worst case scenario is that all that money stays within banks and it just goes into like the stock market, which is, if you look at how big the stock market is, it's global real estate, global wealth, great. Derivatives, holy crap. Yeah, global wealth. Yep, I think there's where's the derivative market? Here it is. Stock markets, it's 89 trillion. It's 8 times the size of the gold market. And actually, the gold market, only half of the gold market is actually held as investments, right? The other half is not investments. But if the price increases, actually it can offset. So I think what might happen is this. The price of gold, of course, it could increase, but I don't think it will double, right? But what might happen in this space is that a lot of the jewelry gold might end up going into the investment gold, because if gold starts increasing in value and people are in debt and they need to close off their accounts, they need to pay their bills, a lot of people will sell their gold. So we actually might see some gold supply come in later on in the year in the form of jewelry going back into investment grade gold. The thing is, right now we're not there yet, and depending on how easy it is to refine jewelry into investment grade gold, that could cost money. That could cost time, and there will always be some lag. I think that overall, gold will increase. I don't know if it will double. I think gold at $2,000 is a fair value, at least for the midterm until 2022. Gold at maybe, I don't know, 3,000 is a bit of a stretch. 3,000 means that the Federal Reserve would actually have to print almost 3 times as much as 7 trillion, and inject that money into the monetary supply. That would be a lot of money. That would be a lot of money. I don't know if they're going to do that. Anyways, to go back to the main point, silver, I think, $27, 2021 is roughly what we will see. It'll be somewhere around there. I don't think it will stay consistently. It might hit $30 or go above $30. I hope I'm wrong. I have silver, so like if it goes above $30, I'm happy. But I think conservatively, it should stay around. It would trend around the $27 upwards. We might see $30 silver at the end of 2023. Then will we continue to see a upward trend of silver and gold and all these commodities? Maybe. Silver might go up further if, like, by the end of 2024, 25, the economy picks up, and then all of a sudden, all governments are like, let's invest in green technology. Then silver might see a huge boom, right? But if they don't, they're like, oh, we just want basic infrastructure and build roads, then yeah, you're not going to see a silver boom. Sorry. People have to buy silver for silver to go up. It does have a lot of space to go up, but it also has a lot of space before then to be pumped, because you have to be aware. When people think about like silver manipulation, they're thinking, oh, they're keeping the price of silver down. No. Silver is small, so it can be manipulated both ways. It can be pumped up or down. And I think like a lot of the things that's happening right now, because it's such a small market, $43 billion of a market is nothing in today's world. You see how much money is flowing around. Look at the derivatives market. Derivatives market is what? These are all the futures, contract options, warrants. How much is this? Gross market value, $11 trillion. Notional value, $558 trillion. Yeah, these are all the bets and bets on the different assets in the market. So yeah, and then there's also like derivatives of derivatives, like collateralized debt obligations and credit default swaps, that that are basically packaged derivatives. And then you have like I guess mortgage-backed securities are also packaged derivatives They are basically, you could also have rent-backed securities, so mortgage rent-backed securities, and they're a derivative of a mortgage-backed security, which is essentially not a person renting the house, but a company owning the apartments who is borrowing money and using the rent from the apartments to back the value of the asset and the mortgage. And that's a mortgage rent-backed security. And they are depends on, it's very hard to assess because these type of things are trying to make it into a commodity, but they're individual buildings and there's people in it, so it's never gonna like a homogeneous product like gold. Like you can have a futures contract on gold, yes, but the underlying thing is always gold. It's consistent. One block of gold is the same as another block of gold. Same with one block of silver, platinum, and so on. One Bitcoin is the same as the next Bitcoin. But for buildings and these things, no, one building is not the same as another building, or 50 tenants is not the same as the next 50 tenants, even though, on average they could be the same, but they're not always the same. That's how they messed up in 2008. They were like, oh, people can be the same. No, they could have bad credit. They could have really bad credit and take down the whole thing. Anyways, silver market, small, long-term price, 2021. I expect it to be around $27. Around there, more or less. I don't think it's going to go up that much. I don't think it's a bear market. But I don't think it's a raging like crazy bull market. I think if you were to buy today, you wouldn't be badly hurt or make a lot of money. You would just it would just stay around. If you're stacking for 30 years retirement, that's another story. Then it's like you're putting a little bit aside. It's sort of like a physical savings account. That's pretty good. That might pay off. So yeah, I don't think you can build a 30-year, you can make up a 30-year projection. I just have no idea how accurate that will be. I don't even think the 112 days predictor is accurate. You can see the accuracy is like 80%. You build it out even longer, it's going to be very inaccurate. It might be trending upwards, but it would be very, very inaccurate. Anyways, that's the predictor. I'll post it in the link below, and thank you very much for watching. If you like the content, click the like button. If you want to follow me and keep up with daily or frequent content, because I'm not able to post every single day when I try to make more complicated things. So click the subscribe button to stay up to date with content, and click the bell notification button so you know when I post a new video. Thank you very much for watching. This is Dave out.